Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I wanted to go ahead and talk about something very interesting. You can also see that I'm outside. I felt like I worked so hard this week and I was just like inside all day grinding it out. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to sit on my computer, why not sit somewhere I want? And so that's the luxury of working from home. But that's what I did. So it's a beautiful day here in Mesa, Arizona. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is an interesting lesson I feel like I learned in rowing. Surprisingly, when I was a rower, my mom let us pick. My mom said the three of us, that we were 18 months apart, we all had to choose the same sport. So my sister chose rowing, which we were like, okay, we'll do rowing too. And rowing is extremely, extremely competitive. Now, what I didn't know was how big a disadvantage of being like on the shorter end would be. And I'm not short, I'm average, but I'm not like 6 feet tall, which gives you a lot more leverage in rowing. And so I had to work a lot harder to get the same amount of progress. And so, like, literally, it was because my legs were short. And so I had to constantly figure out like how to do better. And so the three of us, my brother, my twin sister, my twin brother, my sister, my twin brother and I were all rowers. And the thing was, you need to get a rowing scholarship. We don't have money for you for college, so like go get a scholarship. So there was like a big drive to go get a scholarship and to excel in rowing. And it was kind of cool because if you could get a rowing scholarship, you could probably get into schools that maybe I wouldn't be able to get into academically because I was spending 25 hours a week working out with rowing and not, diverting that activity to classes. Needless to say, I had a disadvantage and I had to figure out how to offset that disadvantage. And rowing was really interesting because essentially, probably similar to other sports, you're like vying for a spot. Scouts would come to races. They would see college scouts. They would see, who was doing well and keep an eye out. And they're looking at people from the same team. And so, although we're in a boat of eight and it really matters to work together as a team, you're also kind of like working against them in the sense that you're competing for the same scholarships at the top colleges that have rowing teams that are good. And so, what this meant for me was like figuring out how to do better than the people in my boat to stand out. And this isn't to say I was not a team player. I just had to figure out how to stand out. And so I realized that we were actually doing all of the same workouts together. So we were lifting the same weights, we were going on the same 6 mile runs, we were going on the same rowing practice out on the water, on the erg, whatever. So I'm like, okay, so we're all doing the same thing. So I probably need to do something different if I really want to like get the edge. And so that's when I started waking up early. I think I had to be on the bus at 6 for school. So I'd wake up at like 5 to run. And so I essentially gave myself 2-a-days. I would run in the morning and then I would work out in the afternoon with rowing practice for 2 or 3 hours. I can't remember. Um, anyways, super intensive. I'm probably still burnt out from it, but I figured out what to do to go the extra mile, and that when I ran 6 miles at 5 a.m., I could see that that level of effort and that dedication was helping me in my rowing scores. And I think the story I want you to understand from this is that um, think about what can give you an edge. Think about what people are traditionally doing in their job search and how you can be different. Like I had one client that was like, it's okay, it's just a pre-screen. I don't really need to prep for it. And like we should focus on getting some standout interview materials for when I actually have an interview. And this was such an interesting conversation because I'm like, everyone like most people are treating this recruiter pre-screen as just a pre-screen and kind of dismissing who is doing this pre-screen and not actually trying to dismiss them as a person, but you know what I mean. So where this is interesting is that if you could actually stand out in that and have that person become an advocate for you, like that's a way to be different. Um One key tip I heard from someone and it like really changed how I thought about getting an edge in the job search was she said, we interviewed all these candidates. This was a woman that was on a board of a nonprofit that I was working with at the time. And she said, we had all these candidates, and the one that stuck out was the one that sent a 5-minute video recap. And this really helped because I was sifting through all of this candidate data, and I could like easily refer back to what we talked about. And like this seems so simple, but it really stuck out. And so like if there's things like that that can be super super easy, do that. So I highly recommend try downloading Loom, try it out. I love 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 Loom for asynchronous work. Um but download Loom. And the other thing is you can see when people open your videos. So like if you have a phone screen, rec- record after your phone screen, your initial one, like what you loved about the interview, what energizes you about the role, why you're a good fit. And this is going to be different than other people. Like that's going to give you an edge. Now, I highly recommend, when I talk to other recruiters about like even reaching out to a recruiter about a role that they don't hire, like they're not hiring for, but maybe a colleague is, or even if you're asking for a referral from a friend or even just someone in your network, um, to like give them an understanding of what you can do. And so a lot of times if you're doing a referral, they'll be like, "Hey, can you just like send a little thing like why you're good at this role?" I even had some referrals be like, "Hey, can you like match your resume perfectly so I don't look dumb referring you and like that you're not actually a good candidate?" And so then I'm like, "Is this role even open?" um but one quick thing you can do, aside from like trying to keyword match and everything else, is to send your referral a video as to why you're a really good fit for the role. Or it could be the video of that you send for them for the recruiter. Like, hey, they're going to pass it on to the recruiter or the hiring manager. Hiring manager is preferred. Send them a video that the hiring manager can see, and then you can actually see if they opened it. So like this is one key tip on getting an edge. Um, and I would just say there's a lot of other tips. We'll talk about them another day. But download Loom, try it out. Think about edge, just as you're thinking about your job search, how you can be different and how you can be different in a way that someone's actually going to see it. I think a lot of times we spend a lot of time on our resume because that's kind of like our currency. It feels like our currency in a job search. And I think the challenge with that is a lot of that work isn't ever seen. And so you want your edge to be something that's really going to drive changes and outcomes of your job search. And so I'm not saying your resume shouldn't be optimized, it should, but this is one thing that you can do that can easily help you stand out. Cool. Message me if you have any questions and join my private podcast. You can go to my website. There's a tab, join private podcast. But essentially, I'm going to be outlining the whole Phoenix formula in that private podcast for the DIYers out there that don't want to sign up for a program and feel like they can do it all themselves. Like I want to help people do that. I'll explain how to do it. I will say it's complex. So, some people might say, hey, I don't want to do it myself. This is way too hard, but I do want to give you the blueprint of how to do it if it's something that you want to do. But think about this. Will you go the extra mile? Will you do something to stand out? All right. Have a